Hi and welcome to Reddit Confessions. This story starts with a voice, her voice, and a grin I'll never forget. "He'll laugh later," she whispered. "He has no clue," she added, smirking. The room wasn't dark. That's what struck me first. The lights were all on. Her phone was out, music low. She was sitting on the edge of the bed, twisting her hair with one hand and texting with the other, still wearing her gym leggings. I wasn't supposed to hear that. She didn't know I was already home. She didn't hear the front door open. She didn't hear it close either. And now I'm standing there, just outside the bedroom, holding a bag of her favorite blueberry muffins. One of them still warm. That stupid paper bag feels like it's on fire in my hands. I should barge in, ask her, scream, do something that makes me feel like I matter again. But I just stand there, watching, listening. She's not laughing anymore. Now she's sighing, softly. Then she says something else. Something I'll carry like a tumor. "He's so slow. I swear it's kind of cute." Pause. "Yeah, I'll do it next weekend. At the cabin." Long pause. "No, he won't come. He thinks it's for work." There it is. The truth. Quiet, brutal, real. It doesn't hit like a movie. No music swells, no shouting. It's quieter than that. Almost like hearing your name in a stranger's conversation. Sudden. Foreign. She doesn't know I canceled my meeting today. Doesn't know I've been sitting in the car outside for nearly 40 minutes, working up the courage to act normal. She doesn't know I saw the second toothbrush in her glove compartment 3 days ago. Or the phone call she took in the laundry room when she thought I was asleep. Or the tiny silver bracelet I found under the passenger seat of her car. It wasn't hers. She's allergic to silver. All of that led here. To this. To me realizing that the silence in our house wasn't peace. It was distance. I step back slowly. The bag crinkles. I flinch. But she doesn't hear it. I turn toward the door. Not slamming it. Not stomping. Just walking. Like I'm fading out of my own life. And just before I pull the handle, I hear her laugh one last time. Soft. Satisfied. I didn't go far. I didn't have a plan. Just the car, still parked crooked in the driveway, and the keys in my pocket. I slipped inside, shut the door quietly, like I was afraid to wake the past, and just sat there in the driver's seat, listening to nothing. My hands were shaking, not from rage, no, not even sadness, just disbelief, the kind that leaks out in slow waves, like you're watching someone else's life fall apart, and yours is just sitting in the back row with popcorn. Except this was mine. Every word she said upstairs kept replaying in my head. "Next weekend. He thinks it's for work." Over and over like a scratched record. It wasn't even just what she said. It was how she said it. No guilt. No hesitation. Just plans. Quiet, confident plans. I remember looking at the muffins beside me on the passenger seat. One of them had tipped over. Its top was squished against the paper bag. Somehow that hurt more than I expected. Like even the muffins knew they were made for someone who didn't deserve them. I sat there for maybe an hour. Long enough for the car to get hot. Long enough for my shirt to stick to the back of the seat. I thought about driving off. I thought about walking back in. I even thought about storming upstairs and catching her mid-text. But then what? She'd lie. She always lies with a straight face. I'd seen it before. The poker face she uses when she's late, or when she forgets things, or when she says she just needs space. She's good at making it feel like you're the one who's broken. Like you made her do this. I finally turned the ignition. The engine startled me, like I just woken something up. I backed out of the driveway with the lights off. Quiet. Cowardly. The kind of exit you make when you're not ready to be the villain in someone else's story. Even if they already made you one. I drove to a hotel about 8 miles away, not far enough to matter, but far enough to think. It wasn't fancy. They had vending machines in the hallway and a faint smell of lemon cleaner that clung to everything. I used a fake name. Checked in with a card I hadn't used since college. I told the front desk clerk that I'd lost my ID and was visiting a friend. She didn't even blink. Just handed me a key and said, "Room 216. The door creaked when I opened it. I dropped the muffins on the nightstand like they were a dead pet I didn't know what to do with. Then I collapsed on the bed. Fully clothed. Shoes on. Eyes open. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just stared at the ceiling like it might give me a reason this was happening. Like it might blink back and say, "You saw the signs, Gil. You just didn't want to read them." Around midnight, I turned on the TV just to drown out the silence. Some rerun was playing. One of those sitcoms where everyone's life wraps up neatly in 20 minutes with a laugh track. Couldn't watch it. I turned the volume down but didn't turn it off. And then I did something I never thought I'd do. I opened her phone bill. You see, she and I still share an account. We've always had the same plan. Never bothered to split it. I knew the login by heart. I pulled out my laptop and opened the call logs. His number wasn't saved under his name. But I knew it. I remembered it from the charger drop incident. 801-7XX, XXXX. And there it was again and again and again. Over 47 calls in the last month. Most of them late at night. Most of them while I was asleep upstairs, 5 feet away. There were even a few on our anniversary. While I was setting up candles. While I was trying to make homemade risotto for the first time. While I was writing her a letter I never gave her. Because when I tried to read it to her, she said, "Not now, Gil. I'm tired." She wasn't tired. She was busy. And I had been asleep in more ways than one. But not anymore. I didn't sleep that night. I don't mean I had trouble falling asleep. I mean I literally didn't close my eyes once. The hotel room stayed lit by that buzzing fluorescent glow from the hallway light outside. My body was still. My mind? Complete riot. It felt like I was trapped inside a house where every door led back to the same room, her voice whispering, "He'll laugh later." That smug little pause, and the way she didn't even consider I might be standing close enough to hear her throw my dignity under the bus like a bag of forgotten groceries. By 6 a.m., I was back in the car, still in yesterday's clothes. I didn't have a plan, but I knew I couldn't keep floating like this, like a ghost of my own marriage. So I drove home, slowly. I don't even remember most of the drive. I just remember pulling up to the house and seeing the blinds in our bedroom wide open, sunlight pouring through them like it owned the place. That used to be my job. Every morning I'd open those blinds, let the light in, brew the coffee, start her day before mine even began. But now it was wide open without me. She was letting the sun in without me. And somehow that was the final crack that made everything else split open. She wasn't home. Her car was gone. Jim, probably. Or Clint's place. Who knows? I stepped inside, still half expecting to hear her call out, "Hey, babe," like nothing had changed. But the house was quiet. Too quiet. And suddenly I realized something. It was my first time alone in that house knowing the truth. Not suspecting. Not doubting. Knowing. The walls felt different. Colder. The couch, the dishes in the sink, even the plants. All of it looked like set pieces from a show that had already been canceled. I walked upstairs and sat on the edge of the bed, unsure what to do. Then I saw her gym bag on the floor. The one she never lets me touch because it's too messy. For some reason, I reached for it. Maybe I thought I'd find nothing. Maybe I wanted to be wrong one last time. But as soon as I unzipped it, the first thing I saw wasn't her towel. It wasn't deodorant. It wasn't even clothes. It was a small black velvet pouch. I knew that pouch. It didn't belong to me, and it definitely didn't belong in a gym bag. I opened it slowly, like my fingers were warning me to stop. Inside was a necklace, simple, silver, with a tiny key charm at the end. I had never seen it before, but I'd seen her wear it once under her shirt. I remember asking her about it. She said, "Oh, it's nothing. Just something I grabbed on sale." That was a lie, because also inside that pouch, tucked neatly underneath the velvet, was a tiny folded note. Just 4 words, scrawled in rushed, arrogant handwriting. "Next time, your turn." I stared at that note for a full minute before it clicked. My stomach twisted so violently I had to set the pouch down. Next time, your turn. Not a joke. Not a gym quote. That was him. Clint. That was them taking turns. Using our house, our bed, our life. while I was busy sorting mail and meal prepping and reminding her dentist about her appointment. The walls started to close in. I stumbled to the laundry room to breathe, but as I leaned against the dryer, I saw it. A hoodie. Not mine. Not her style. Faded red with the sleeves rolled back. The inside tag said Utah State football. Clint went to Utah State. I only knew because he bragged about it at the Christmas party 2 years ago, the one where she made me take pictures of them in front of the tree while I held both of their phones. I suddenly couldn't breathe. Not because of the hoodie, but because in the front pocket, stuffed casually like it meant nothing, was a receipt. A motel receipt. Dated 4 days ago. And the room? 216. The same room I had checked into the night before. Same room. Different betrayal. Different people. Same broken man. I didn't burn the receipt. I didn't shred it. I didn't throw it dramatically into the trash like in the movies. No. I placed it on the kitchen counter like evidence in a trial. And then I sat across from it. Coffee going cold in my hand, heartbeat somewhere in my throat, and I waited. I didn't call her. Didn't text. I knew she'd be back around noon. She always comes home hungry after her Saturday back-to-back client blocks, which I now know were just euphemisms for motel walls and scented body spray that wasn't mine. When the garage door finally whined open, I felt like my soul left the room and didn't come back. She walked in all cheerful, ponytail high, leggings perfect, like she hadn't just obliterated the entire emotional infrastructure of our marriage. She tossed her gym bag on the bench, pulled off her sneakers, and walked straight to the fridge. "Did you eat?" she asked casually, like my world wasn't upside down. I didn't answer. I just tapped the counter twice. Not loudly, just enough to make her look. When she did, she froze. Her eyes landed on the receipt first, then the necklace pouch, then the hoodie I had folded and placed beside it, like a butcher laying out fresh cuts. It was almost silent, except for the refrigerator humming like it was bored. "What's all this?" she asked, but her voice wasn't confused. It was calculated, like someone pretending to be surprised when they already know the twist. "You tell me," I said, and I hated how weak my voice sounded. She didn't blink. She didn't reach for the receipt. Instead, she slowly closed the fridge door and leaned against the counter like we were about to have a chat about our electric bill. "Gil," she said in that tone. The one she uses when I forget to buy almond milk or leave the gas tank empty. "What are you doing?" "What am I doing?" I asked, half laughing now. "I'm sitting here wondering how long you've been lying to me in this exact kitchen. I'm wondering if the last 6 months were a lie. Hell, maybe the last 6 years." She looked down at the hoodie. "That's not mine. You wore it in the photo. The one you posted with the sunrise 2 weeks ago. Said you found a new trail." Clint commented. A pause. Then the mask slipped just a little. Her lips tightened. She looked like she was about to say something brutal, and she didn't disappoint. "So what now? You going through my things like a jealous teenager?" I blinked. "I found a motel receipt in your laundry." "A motel. Room 216. Do you want to guess what room I stayed in last night?" "Same damn number. How's that for cosmic irony?" "I don't owe you an explanation," she said quickly, almost reflexively. "You're acting paranoid." "You don't owe me an explanation?" I asked. "We're married. That still means something, right? Or is that just another word on a ring you don't wear anymore?" Silence. Again. She finally reached for the necklace pouch, slipped the key charm out and dangled it between her fingers. "You were never supposed to find that. That's what you're going with?" I said. Not sorry. Not denial. Just, you weren't supposed to find it. Then she looked me dead in the eyes and said something that made my legs feel hollow. "You were never supposed to look." I stared at her, trying to understand what kind of person I married. What kind of monster says that with calm? She wasn't shaken. She was annoyed, like I had ruined a surprise party she didn't even want me to attend. I stood up, walked past her, grabbed my keys. I had no idea where I was going, but I knew if I stayed, I'd say something that could never be unsaid. "Where are you going?" she asked, finally showing a flicker of uncertainty. "To start looking," I said. since I was so good at not doing that before. As I opened the front door, she called after me. Her voice wasn't desperate. It wasn't scared. It was cold, smug. "You'll regret this, Gil." But I didn't slam the door. I just whispered back, "You will first." I didn't drive far. Just enough to feel the tires smooth out the cracks in my thinking. I ended up parked behind the old train station, the one that hasn't run a train in years. It's quiet there, the kind of place nobody thinks to go. A weird middle ground between forgotten and ignored. I guess that matched how I felt. I stared through the windshield at the rusted tracks and wondered how I ever got here. How the guy who once stayed up 3 nights in a row writing her a surprise anniversary letter ended up alone, holding motel receipts and breathing in recycled car air. I don't know what made me check my voicemail. I hadn't looked in days. I usually don't, everything's text now. But I did, and that's when everything changed again. There was one message, a number I didn't recognize. A woman's voice, calm, low, and deliberate. "Gilbert, I don't know you, but I know her. You don't deserve this. He's lied to her too, and now she's lying to you. I think you need to know everything before it gets worse. If you want the truth, meet me at Cedar Park, by the tennis courts. 6 o'clock, today." I listened to it 3 times. The voice didn't sound angry. It didn't sound like revenge. It sounded like someone who had already watched the same movie I was living in and was offering to skip me ahead to the good part. Or the worst part, depending on how you define truth. At first, I thought it was a prank. Or a scam. Or maybe even Marlo herself, trying to mess with my head in some elaborate emotional origami I hadn't figured out. But I played it again and the last line hit different. "If you don't come, you'll still be lied to. But you'll be doing it willingly." Something about that line stuck in my brain like a splinter. I knew I was already being lied to. The worst part was, she was doing it so effortlessly. Like our history, our plans, all the small moments that made us us, were just wallpaper to tear down and replace. I didn't tell anyone. Didn't text a friend. Didn't call my sister. I just showed up. Cedar Park. 5:58. The air smelled like cut grass and spring rain. Kids were playing on the far side near the jungle gym. But by the tennis courts it was empty. Almost deserted. And then she appeared. Late 30s maybe. Blonde hair pulled back. A gray hoodie. Not glamorous. Not dramatic. Just real. And she looked nervous. "You're Gil?" she asked. I nodded. "You're the voice." Her eyes softened. "Yeah, I'm Claire." There was a pause. Then she pulled something from her tote bag. A phone. Not hers. A second one. "This," she said, "is Clint's burner. He keeps it at my place. He thinks I don't know the code. He's wrong." I froze. I didn't want to touch it. Didn't want to be the guy who goes looking for more pain. But Claire unlocked it and held it up. Texts, photos, videos, and then the folder labeled cabin plans. Inside were screenshots of their messages. Some recent, some months old. "Marlo, you think he'll actually believe I'm going to a yoga retreat?" "Clint, he'd believe anything. He thinks your smoothies are just smoothies." "Marlo, he's so easy. It's sad." "Clint, he'll laugh later." "Marlo, if he even knows how." It wasn't the affair that broke me in that moment. It wasn't the lies or the cabin or the photos. It was the part where she mocked how I believed in her. The way they laughed at my trust like it was a weakness. Claire scrolled down further and handed me the phone. "There's more. I thought you should see for yourself. But I'm warning you. Once you know it all, there's no pretending anymore." I didn't scroll. I didn't need to. I already knew enough. I handed the phone back and whispered, "Thank you." Even though the words burned my throat. Claire nodded. "I was him once. You should know that too. He told me I was special. Told me I was different. Until I found her hair in his truck. I wanted to fall apart right there on the path. But I held it in. Claire didn't say goodbye. She just turned and walked off toward the parking lot. Like a ghost who'd finally finished haunting. I sat on the cold bench for what felt like hours, watching the sky turn the color of bruised peaches. My phone buzzed. It was Marlo. Just one line. "Dinner tonight? I thought we could reset." Reset. Like this was a game. Like I was just a file to erase and start again. I stared at the screen and typed a reply, but then stopped, deleted it, put the phone face down and just watched it vibrate again. That night, I didn't go home. And the next morning, I went somewhere I never thought I would. Sunday morning. Fog in the air, stale coffee in my cup, and betrayal in my bones. I sat in my car outside a house I hadn't been to in over 2 years. A house I swore I'd never return to. But when your life collapses from the inside out, your pride gets real quiet. And sometimes, the last person you ever wanted to see becomes the only person you need to. Her name's Nora. She's my ex-fiancée. Yeah, that kind of twist. We were engaged before Marlo. It ended badly. I called it off after catching her emotionally tangled up with her coworker. Lots of long lunches and he's just a friend, until it became something else. We never hated each other after that. But we never talked either. Still, she was the only one who knew Clint before Marlo ever met him. Nora dated him years ago. They were together briefly. She told me he gave her spinning stomach energy. I didn't listen. I should have. I knocked once. Then again. No answer. I turned to leave, but the door opened. Nora stood there, half-dressed in a long hoodie, one brow raised, holding her phone like she'd been ready to block a scammer. "Gil," she said, "you look like hell." "Thanks," I replied. "Can we talk?" She blinked a few times, then stepped aside. "If you make coffee, you can talk." I did. My hands were trembling while I poured the water. Not because I was nervous to see her, but because I hadn't slept more than 4 hours in 3 days. I told her everything. From the receipt to the phone Claire handed me, to the texts, the necklace, the smirk, the silence, the laugh, all of it. She didn't interrupt, just listened, like she owed me that. When I finally stopped talking, Nora leaned back and crossed her arms. "I warned you about Clint," she said. "He's got this talent for making people feel like the center of a story, until he rewrites the ending without you." I nodded. "I didn't know you still talked." "We don't," she said quickly. "But I still know people. And last I heard, Clint wasn't just charming your wife. He's been running this little side game. Real estate scam. Fake retreats. Women he mentors into investing into nothing." My heart felt like it skipped 3 beats. "Wait, what?" Nora stood and opened her laptop, clicked through a few folders, then showed me a photo of Clint in a suit, arm around a woman I didn't recognize, standing in front of a banner that read, "Empower Fit Women's Leadership Conference, Lake House Edition." "That was 2 months ago," she said. "That woman gave him 15 grand for a so-called wellness franchise. He disappeared a week later. I only know because her sister wrote a blog post about it that went viral in a small forum." I swallowed hard. "And Marlo?" Nora looked me dead in the eye. "If she's tied up in this, she's not just cheating on you. She's funding him." I felt like the floor fell out from beneath me. I pulled out my phone, hands still cold, and opened our shared bank account. The numbers didn't hit me right away, but then I saw it. Transfers. 2 of them. $6,000 and $4,500. Both labeled Emper Coaching Services. I stared at it like it was someone else's life. 10 grand. Gone. From our emergency fund. The account we were building to maybe try IVF again next year. She drained it without a word. No conversation. No warning. Just gone. Nora saw the look on my face and gently took the phone. "She's in this deep," she whispered. "Gil, you need to act fast. He's not just some gym fling. He's using her. And if she knows, she's complicit." I stood up so fast the chair screeched. My heart wasn't just broken anymore. It was on fire. This wasn't infidelity. This was theft. Manipulation. And the worst part? I still missed her. Some pathetic part of me still wanted her to explain it all away. Tell me it was a mistake. That Clint blackmailed her. That she just panicked. That she loved me. But Nora grabbed my arm. "Do not go back there without proof. Real proof. Make her show her hand first." I nodded slowly. "I'll make her play it," I whispered. "I just need the right bait." And in that moment, something cracked inside me. Not with rage, but with clarity. The version of myself that begged for crumbs? Gone. The version who believed her lies just because they came wrapped in a smile? Dead. This time I would be the one watching. This time I would be the one who knew first. I drove home with the kind of stillness that doesn't show up until your heart is done screaming. Nora had printed the receipts. Both bank transfers. She also gave me a flash drive. One that included the screenshots from Clint's burner phone, every message Marlo ever sent, every photo she thought was private, every plan they had made for after. There was even a voice memo, buried deep in her iCloud backup, that Claire had helped retrieve. I hadn't listened to it yet. I was saving that for last. By the time I pulled into the driveway, I already knew what I had to do. I unlocked the door and stepped inside. Marlo was home. The sound of a podcast echoed from the kitchen. One of those self-help ones where people talk about finding their true alignment. It made me want to laugh, but not the good kind. The ironic, bitter kind that lives behind your teeth. She was pouring a smoothie into one of those steel tumblers she loved. She smiled when she saw me, like we were still playing the game, like none of the last 72 hours had happened. "Hey," she said lightly, "was just about to text you. You disappeared yesterday." I set my bag down and kept my voice steady. "Yeah, I needed to think. But I'm good now. I want to talk tonight." She tilted her head, almost amused. "Talk?" "Yeah, like reset, like you said." Her eyes flickered, not because I surprised her, but because she was scanning me, trying to figure out how much I knew. "Okay," she said slowly. "Let's reset." That evening I made dinner. Pasta, her favorite. Lit candles. Poured wine. She played along. Laughed. Complimented my shirt. She even touched my hand across the table. It was nauseating. Like watching a movie you already know the ending to and pretending you don't. Halfway through dessert, I got up and brought over a manila folder. Set it in front of her. Didn't say a word. Just watched. She looked at it, then at me and forced a smile. "What's this?" "Open it." She did. The moment her eyes landed on the first printout, the bank transfer, her entire face shifted. Not fear. Not panic. Calculation. You could see her running through scenarios like a chess player looking 6 moves ahead. "That's not what it looks like," she said quickly. "I haven't told you what it looks like yet." Her lips parted slightly. The fake confidence flickered. I sat down, folded my hands. "Tell me about Empower Coaching Services. Tell me about the lake house. Tell me about the fake conference. And while you're at it, tell me about room 216. She didn't speak, so I continued. "See, Marlo, I didn't just find the receipts. I talked to Claire. I went to Nora. I know everything. The texts, the photos, the money, the coaching scam, the burner phone, the passwords. I even know about the second storage unit." Her face dropped then. That one got her. I leaned forward. "You weren't just cheating. You were building a life behind my back. And not just emotionally, financially. You took our emergency fund and used it to invest in a man who's already left 2 women high and dry." Marlo's hand trembled slightly, but she clenched her fist. "You don't understand." "Then explain it." "He was helping me," she snapped. "He made me feel like I wasn't stuck, like I had potential." "And I didn't?" I asked. "The guy who worked late to help pay for your certification courses? The guy who cooked you soup when you lost your job? The guy who drove 6 hours to meet your parents because you were too anxious? I wasn't enough of a reset for you?" She looked at me then, and I could finally see it, the real her. The version that had been hiding behind yoga pants and meal preps and morning kisses. And she didn't even try to deny it. "No," she whispered. "You were safe, and I didn't want safe anymore." I nodded slowly. "I figured you'd say that." Then I pulled out the second envelope. Inside, a single sheet of paper. My lawyer's letterhead. Separation agreement. Bank account freeze. Home title transfer initiation. She blinked, confused. "What is this?" "This," I said calmly, "is my reset." She laughed bitterly. "You're overreacting." I leaned back. No, I'm finally reacting. Then I played the voice memo. Her voice. On Clint's burner. Gil's soft. He won't fight. That's why it works. He'll cry for a bit, but eventually he'll forgive me. He always does. The kitchen went silent. She stared at the phone. Then at me. You recorded me? No, I said. You recorded you. You just gave the wrong man your passwords. For the first time in days, I felt something return to my chest. Not anger, not vengeance, just oxygen. Marlowe stood up slowly. So what now? I grabbed my bag. Now? You laugh first. And I walked out. 3 months later. The days feel different now. I wake up before my alarm. I breathe without clenching my jaw. The silence in the house isn't heavy anymore. It's peaceful. Like a room that's finally aired out after someone toxic has left it sealed shut for years. I never went back. After I left that night, I stayed with an old friend who barely asked questions. I spent the first week mostly sitting on his back porch, sipping terrible instant coffee and listening to the wind move through the trees like it had something to say. And then one morning, I just started moving again. I got my own place. Small, cheap, honest. Everything in it is mine, not shared, not borrowed, not tainted. Mine. Marlowe tried reaching out. First with a long text, then a voice note, then silence, then an email, weirdly professional, titled, "Hope we can talk soon." We didn't. I let the lawyers handle everything. The account was frozen. The house was signed over to me. Turns out she never wanted to fight for it. Or maybe she knew she wouldn't win. The moment her web of lies collapsed, she didn't have much left to stand on. Clint disappeared, like a ghost with a gym membership. I later found out Claire and another woman took legal action. I didn't get involved. I didn't need revenge. I had something better. Freedom. I joined a local bookstore as a part-time events manager. Yeah, it's not glamorous, but it's mine. I run readings, author nights, poetry slams. I even started journaling again. Sometimes I catch myself writing about her, not angrily, just honestly. Like I'm sweeping out the corners of my mind, making space. One day last week, I found the necklace, the little silver key. I almost threw it away, but instead, I dropped it in a donation bin at a shelter. Maybe someone will find it, melt it down, make something better out of it. That's kind of what I'm trying to do with my life anyway. And here's the twist no one expects. I'm not bitter. Not anymore. Marlowe lied. She cheated. She betrayed the man who believed in her the most. But I walked away. Not out of spite. Not for drama. But for peace. That night she whispered, "He'll laugh later." She thought she was in control. She had no idea that I'd be the one smiling when the story ended. Because laughter doesn't come from hurting someone back. It comes from finally knowing who you are without them. That's the end of my story. If you've ever had a moment like this, where you walked away instead of breaking down, tell us in the comments. What was your turning point? And if you've stuck with me this far, thank you. I'm Gil, and this has been the realest confession I've ever told. You're watching Reddit Confessions. Hit like, share your story, and remember, sometimes walking away is the most powerful thing you'll ever do.